Hi, soul travelers, and welcome to episode 1 of A Little Nugget of Peace. This is a podcast where I am sharing my reflections, my awarenesses, the spiritual tests, and spiritual lessons that I have learned and am currently going through as well. Today, I am talking about the mind, specifically how we are not our mind. And sometimes that can be a challenge to understand and integrate, because when we think of the mind, we think of our head or our brain, and the brain in our head is attached to our body. So how are we not also the mind? But we aren't the mind, and we aren't our thoughts. Our thoughts are like clouds that can pass in the distance, that we can witness. I even heard an analogy recently of seeing the thoughts, allowing them to go on a bus and allow that bus to drive away. There's so many different analogies when it comes to how we can witness and process our thoughts. And it's important to remember that we are not the mind. We are not those thoughts. They do come up for a reason. They do have their purpose. And sometimes that purpose is to pause, to reflect, to see what wants to be witnessed, how far we've come in our own growth, in our own journey and path. We are not our thoughts. We are not the mind. It is a part of us. It is an extension of the ego, and we're not here to kill the ego, not completely. It is still a part of us, but the higher self rises above. The higher self rises above the ego, above the thoughts, and it takes practice to switch from the ego, the mind, into the spirit and higher self. That takes practice. It doesn't happen overnight. But we are not our thoughts. How do we distinct between what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling? I wish it was a very simple answer, but I think it's different for everybody. For me, when I know it's my mind or my ego, I realize that that voice a lot of times is really loud and sometimes even afraid. And when it comes to my spirit, when it comes to my higher self, that voice is a lot calmer, a lot quieter, a lot more grounded. As cosmic beings that we are, we can sometimes forget in this human experience that we are not this body, that we are not the mind. In Buddhism, it's called the monkey mind, where it's the chatter, or sometimes how I like to describe it is like a small child running around. And just being able to witness that with no judgment, just simply witnessing how the mind is. Where is the mind in the present moment? And how can we shift out of the mind and into embodiment, into the body, into the spirit, into the heart? The mind is a powerful tool. It not only creates illusion, but also seeds ideas of creation. If we want to take a peek at our inner world, take a moment and stroll through the mind. Is it something that's always on? Is there always something in the background keeping us from being in that stillness? In the stillness of the mind, in the stillness of the heart, that's when spirit talks. That's when our heart speaks to us. And it can be really difficult to hear that when the mind is loud. Having practices that allow us to come out of the mind, to detach from the mind, to observe the mind, and have clarity of what wants to be witnessed. Why is it coming up in this present moment? And remembering that we are not the thoughts. The mind is a trickster, but it has its purpose. It wouldn't be a part of our human experience if it didn't have a purpose. So how can we coexist with the mind? How can we retrain and reprogram our thoughts in moments when we are afraid or upset? This can be when the mind is most active, but we can always pause, breathe, and allow the thoughts to slip away, to pass like these beautiful clouds in the background, to not allow ourselves to get consumed and wrapped up in the mind. For you are not that. You are much bigger and brighter than the mind. What's something that's recently come up in your life where you were able to pause and be aware of the thoughts? Or something that you can reflect on now and realize that it was the mind, that it was your thoughts? I would love for you to share them down in the comments. I'd like to end these podcast episodes with a little message from our animal spirit guides and see what they have to say. We have two cards that came: Roadrunner and the Polar Bear. The Roadrunner: keep your sense of humor and don't take things so seriously. And the Polar Bear: stand up for yourself and speak your truth respectfully and compassionately, with no attachment to outcome. Thank you for witnessing. And if you enjoyed this first episode of the podcast, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll be posting weekly episodes. And if you're new here, go check out my YouTube channel where I have a large catalog of guided meditations. There are also links in the description and in my bio if you feel called to follow me on my other social platforms, as well as visiting my website where I have herbal blends as well as spiritual conscious clothing and merchandise as well. And I will see you guys next week.